Welcome back to the Motorhome Matt podcast. I'm Keith Gooden.
And I'm Motorhome Matt.
I ask the questions and Matt, he answers them.
Well, we do our best.
We do.
Try.
We do our best. We do our best.
Do.
We do.
Have we done a do?
We've done a do.
Again?
Yes. Let's get straight in with the news, shall we?
Let's do it. So, overnight parking bans. This has been a thing quite close to home, isn't it? On the Downs in the centre of Bristol. The Downs is a huge green grassed area right in the centre of Bristol near Clifton. And a restriction has been proposed on the van dwellers there. So people living in a van on the Downs. There are, I think, about 100 of them at the moment.
Yeah, there's quite a few people, and they are van lifing on the Downs. And some of the people who live in the area don't like that. The council doesn't seem to like it very much. And they're talking about this parking ban being introduced on the Downs. Isn't it just chasing down people who just want to get on with their life?
Well, it seems it. Although the Green councillor who has been involved in this proposal. And the proposal, interestingly, is a £500 fine if you're caught parking there between 1am and 4am. That's a big fine, isn't it?
Right, so yellow lines you can park after 6, double yellow lines, no, you can't park at all. But then there's this new bit where you can't park between 1am and
4am.
Why can't they just put double yellow lines down?
Yeah, well, then you couldn't park there at all. But this is about fining people for parking there. So, I guess making it a very acute restriction. The Green councillor, Paula O'Rourke, representing Clifton, said, "I would find it really very hard to just expel the problem elsewhere in other parts of the city or to other parts of the city. What we need to explore is, in the meantime, is use of campsites. We have van dwellers who have nowhere else to live. It's a very complicated problem." Now, I accuse Paula of pushing this problem elsewhere, saying, well, if you're going to put these parking restrictions in, where are they going to go? You're just going to move this reality. Let's not call it a problem. It's a reality. There are people living in vans that need somewhere to park. They choose to park on the Downs. There's no residence, right next to it. They're not parked outside of anyone's house on most of the area. So what's the problem? It's a big open space. And Paula was accused of just, not NIMBY, not in my backyard. And she's come back and said, that's not what I'm doing. Paula, we would love to get you on the podcast. We have emailed you in the past, and we have put a call out on the podcast for you to come on. Genuinely, we would love you to come on and talk about this issue and the reality for many that is living in a van.
Absolutely. She represents the Clifton ward, which is the posh bit of Bristol. So you can imagine the pressure that she's getting. But then again, on the other hand, Matt, you can't have just people getting in a van and bowling up in the middle of Bristol and parking there for the rest of their lives, can you?
Why not?
Well, because they're surrounded by neighbours who live in houses who might not like what's happening in their neighbourhood.
View. Yeah, well, we have to rub along together, don't we? So there needs to be a provision, I think, is the reality. And the folks that live there probably work in the city, and there's reports of people being observed dressing in a suit and tie and going to a civilised job during the day. These are not homeless people as such. The van is their home, and they have paid employment, and they probably work in the city and they want to walk to work. Well, that's a good thing. The issue is the perception of these vans, and there is some mess there, I have to say. There's some really tired caravans, some pretty knackered old worn-out vans as well. And they're saying that if there's no number plate and it's not road legal, it'll be towed away. And
well, you've got to have a number plate. You've got to be road legal, haven't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And there are caravans there with not attached to a car. And that's a different issue, isn't it? That's about the vehicle being roadworthy. And I kind of go, well, yeah, fair enough. You're parked on the road. And so what's being said is we need to find sites where these people can live. And in a city like Bristol, where space is of a premium, where's that? So it's as Paula says, it's a complicated issue. I'd love to have a chat with her about it.
And on that issue of where people park, Wyre Borough Council have provided a breakdown of the yearly revenue for the last 5 years that they've received by allowing overnight parking for motorhomes and camper vans in the central car park. This is very, very interesting. They started halfway through 2018. When I say halfway through, I'm talking about the financial year, April to April. And they brought in £355 for 70 people who parked in 2017-18 from October through to March the next year. Let's fast forward to 2020, 2021. 737 motorhomes and campers got into the car park and paid £4,625. That's pretty good when it started off at £355.
Yeah, double.
The year after, that jumped in 2021-22 to £19,065, which is a fourfold increase. 2,962 people had heard about it and used the central car park. And just last year, that's up to as I say, the April through to March. So that's 2022, April 2022 to March 23. It's £25,915. And so far this year, up to the last month where figures were available, which is July, that's 10 grand. So it's going to jump again. And what a good idea. People obviously like this idea, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. And the point, I think this report was a request for under the Freedom of Information Act. And CAMPRA published it, the Campaign for Real Heirs. So places that you can park up and not make an encampment. So you literally just park and sleep. But this is fascinating, and this is a real-world kind of case study for other councils, I'd suggest, to consider using those car parks that would otherwise be empty at night to allow motorhomes to park there and make it an income stream. And bear in mind, these people are not paying very much money, to park there. If you do the maths, they're paying a few pounds to park there each night. It's remarkable. And as you say, this year, £10,000 has been raised. We're only on month 4. So, we're on for 30 grand and 3,500 people or more, 4,500 people. So, this is obviously, I think, a brilliant case study and one that council should be taking notice of. Perhaps Paula should have a look at it.
And the question that I ask is, since 2017-18 and now, have the facilities been improved? What are the facilities like there in Central Car Park for motorhomers and van lifers?
Well, there's normally none. I mean, it says on this report that additional facilities, including a sluice for foul water disposal, are planned to be introduced in the coming weeks, although this will be met from the parking income. So they're going to put a sewage access point in for wastewater and hopefully for dirty water or foul water, so toilets. So there are no facilities, yet they've raised 25 grand last year.
They have.
26
I'm
grand.
just doing a quick calculation. £67,000 so far, there or thereabouts.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
That's not bad. So I'd get that foul water and sluice drain in there as quickly as I possibly could if I were you.
I mean, we just haven't wired this up in this country. Parking up in a motorhome is a challenge, and there are more and more restrictions being imposed on us, particularly of areas of outstanding natural beauty, and it just feels that we're being squeezed out. But it's the wrong way to go. Motorhomes need to be embraced. 99.9% of us are a sensible bunch of people, and we will behave ourselves and we will obey the rules. Most of us love rules. We like doing it the right way, and councils need to engage with this. And I think this is a brilliant case study as why they should as well.
Well, it's hugely successful. Well done, Wyre Borough Council. Yeah. But spend some of that money on facilities. But, what turns people into van lifers, rent rises, the increase in the cost of living and mortgages, and more people turning to it. And the argument, of course, against it is these people don't pay council tax.
Well, that's true. They don't. But it was on Wake Up to Money the other morning on Radio 5 Live. The way rents have risen, I think it was 12%, and landlords are kind of exiting the property market and selling off their own rental properties because the government have withdrawn the tax benefits. And so the property market is shrinking, and thus rents are going up, making living in bricks and mortar more and more expensive. So a van or a boat becomes a very acceptable and attractive alternative.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you by thatleisureshop.com. Let's talk about Autoglim cleaning kits. Winterizing. Now this, ho, 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 is a good Christmas gift.
I love this. Every year I get given Autoglim product for Christmas, and I love it. It's really good. They make a fantastic range of car cleaning and car care products. This is bodywork and accessories. This is you all over, Keith. So this is a bodywork shampoo and conditioner. Just see you rubbing this on your head. And a super resin polish.
Lovely.
Don't drink it all at once. It comes with a high-tech finishing cloth and a perfect polish applicator. So I don't know if you've ever used Autoglym products on your car, but they work perfectly too on a motorhome. They make a range of motorhome and caravan specific products too. So a glass polish that's perfect for plastic windows, because glass polish can be quite abrasive, so you shouldn't use it on plastic windows. But yeah, this is an example of the Autoglym stuff that we sell at that leisure shop, and one to go for if you're looking for a Christmas present. Only $18.99.
A bargain.
And there's a sale on.
There's a sale on, yeah. Drain down kits. What's that then?
So these are an essential for any motorhome, camper van, caravan, or static caravan. It's a flow drain down kit. So getting the water out of your leisure vehicle for the winter is the most crucial thing you can do. Really important. And these kits help you do it. They come with a DVD. People still got a DVD player.
I have.
I'm sure the videos are now on their website. They'll catch up. But they are really, really good and easy to install. You just interrupt the water supply and drain the water out of your leisure vehicle. There's different types depending on whether you've got a British motorhome, a European motorhome, a caravan, or a static caravan, and we sell them all in the shop. And the other thing to do, of course, before you put your motorhome or caravan away for the winter is to clean it. So hence the Autoglym product. Give it a clean. It seems daft to clean it and prep it for winter clean, but giving it a coat of wax. So behind me you can see there's an HD wax, one of my favourite Autoglym products. Once a year, just give it a coat of wax. It takes a little time, but it helps protect the paint from bird lime, tree sap. Keeps it all clean. Even if you're going to put a cover on it, I would always recommend cleaning it first, and then you're not going to risk getting it scratched as you drag the cover over the windows.
Welcome back to the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you by thatleisureshop.com. The main part of this podcast this week is our friend Darran the Urban Motorhome.
Dazza. Yeah, we love Darran, as so many people do. We're talking this week about park-ups, and particularly urban park-ups, so parking in a town or city, and the restrictions that come on that, perhaps. Well, Darran's been doing it for years, and he's spent every night living in his motorhome in a town or city, moving around, and I asked him, how did this all start for you? So I'm joined in the motorhome, backstage, behind the That Leisure Shop stand at the Lincoln Show, by the man of the moment, Darran the Urban Motorhome.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are the star of YouTube, TV, well, Channel 5.
Yeah, Channel 5, yeah.
And many dodgy neighbourhood streets.
Yeah, don't tell me your address. I know your address. I can be out yours anytime I want.
So you've been to the house.
Yeah.
And you've recently been touring Europe as well.
I have, yeah. I've done my first little tour around there. I've dipped my toe in. I wanted to just see what it was like. I just didn't plan it at all, just went. I didn't take really much advice either, because I wanted to mess up and, see it as people that haven't been before, and I wanted to, experience that.
And did you mess up?
Not really. I mean, there's not really much to mess up. I learnt a few things, but yeah, it was pretty easy, really. And once you're over there, the airs and parking and things are just amazing.
Yeah.
So easy. Yeah.
We've a lot to learn in this country, haven't we? We haven't worn it up in our heads, it seems, have we?
Do you know what? I've said this multiple times in the videos when I was over there. There's just, you only need like a 3-foot post, and it's about a 1.5 foot square on the bottom, and that can hold all the services we need. That is it. Yeah. Because it will have a fresh water tap, and another tap just for cleaning your hands. It can have the waste disposal, the black tank disposal, the Elson point, and even a little drain grate when you pull near it. It's all you need. Yeah. And it's just literally a post.
You also need the permission of the landowner, though, don't you? That's the key.
100%. But I mean, we've got, how many services have we got in the country on the motorways? I mean, they love earning a pound coin. They could easily earn a pound coin a time for putting your thing down there, and they've got the infrastructure there. They've got all the piping on the floors under the ground.
Why haven't we done it, do you think?
I don't know. I just think we're more. I think I don't know. Did we just more go away on holiday, like go to Butlin, Centre Parks, go to Spain, go to thinking? Was it more that? I don't know. They just don't think about it, or they just don't want big vehicles in the area, or I don't know. I really don't.
Well, of course, you're in a big vehicle.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know Darran, he lives in his motorhome full time, and you've been doing that for 4 years?
No, coming March will be 7 years.
7 years, wow.
7 years full time in the motorhome. The only times I'm not is when I'm on business trips in hotels and things like that. But yeah, pretty much 99% of the time of 7 years.
So I want to talk about your experience of living in the motorhome and parking up. You have the YouTube name, The Urban Motorhome,
Yep.
and you were kind of focused on parking up in urban areas because of work,
Yeah.
I guess. But how did it all begin? What inspired you to do this?
So I was living at my mum's, and then I went to a bushcrafter meet. It was like a little weekend bushcraft thing, and I had a hammock. Not a hammock. Hammock's not strong enough for me. I had a tarp, and then I was sleeping on the bottom, on the floor. I'm never gonna trust a hammock ever.
I'd love to see this.
I mean, they've got to be great trees. They've got to be some sturdy trees. So I went there and I met a few people there. My mate Pete, who's now bought my old motorhome, but he had a van and he was converting it, and that was my first ever introduction into people living in vehicles. Yeah. So and then I met a few other people there, and then I started then going away researching. And I thought, well, okay, they're building their own. I can't. I've got no skills. To build my own, it would have been a waste of money, and it would have been an unfinished project. So then I started looking at motorhomes, and I set my budget at like, I don't know, £7,000 or something, and then that creeped up, and I thought, well, if I just go a little bit more, I get this. If I just go a little bit more, I get this, and then it creeped up to about just shy of 20 grand from from 7. And yeah, I just then started hunting around, looking around, and I thought that'd be a great idea. And I just told my mum I was going to look for a motorhome to move in, and she thought it was just one of my harebrained ideas. And then yeah, went and found a motorhome in Cheddar, not far from your neck of the woods. Bought it and then moved in within a weekend, and that was it. Rest is history.
But why did you want to live in it full time? What inspired you to do that?
Well, because I thought, because I had I was doing a driving job. I had a lorry license, but I wasn't actually using the lorry license at the time because I had no experience. But I was working at a company to then try and get in their good books and then move up. So I was earning a good wage, but I was doing a lot of hours, and I was thinking, well, if I go get a house, I'm just swapping one for the other. I'm already living in a house at my mum's, and I'm not there that much anyway because I was always working. So I was thinking, well, what's the point of paying someone else's mortgage and paying someone else some rent when I could just own something myself and then jump in. And I love travel, and I'm not exactly the most conventional person. I'm not. I don't really want to conform, but I'm not one of the little hippie rebels or something that's going to tie myself to a tree or glue my face to the floor or something. But I'm a bit. I do a little bit of things outside the norm, and that was it. I was just like, what? Give it a go. Why not?
So was that your main driver? Was just to live differently? It wasn't a financial motivation?
No, I mean, I didn't want to waste money, so I've never, up until this point, apart from my mum, I've never paid anyone rent. I've only paid her rent. It's whatever she asked, you always give. I mean, she'll kneecap you. You don't mess with your mum. You do not, especially don't mess with mine. So yeah, I just didn't want to, waste my money really. And I thought, well, it'll be a great experience. I can travel around. If I don't, like somewhere, I'll just go somewhere else. I could do more travel. I can be with my friends more. And yeah, I just thought it'd be a good idea. I didn't really put much thought into it, to be fair.
I think that's a character trait, isn't it, for you generally?
Yeah, it kind of is. I was just, that'll be a good idea. Let's do that. And then, but this one worked. Yeah.
Bingo. So you and I both had a lot of exposure to discussion panels around solo female travelling. At all the shows we've been to, there's often a group of women who are on stage talking about travelling on their own, and I take my hat off to them. And it's become a big thing. But do you think it's a big thing to talk about solo male travel? Is it just accepted? Is it easier? Is it a thing?
That would never get on the stage. That would never be on the stage. Now, again, I respect the women. I know plenty of them. They're fantastic women, and they do amazing jobs, and they're amazing. But yeah, you'd never get a panel of guys going, "Yeah, I'm doing solo male travel." You'd never get it.
Why is that, do you think?
I think we're just, again, we're not meant to stereotype people, and we're trying to, I mean, as we're going forward in the times now, we're trying to stop stereotyping and all this and that, but we're meant to be okay with it. We're meant to be the man. We're meant to be, I mean, you're in a motorhome now with your partner. If there's a noise outside, who's going outside?
Probably the dog.
But you're the one that's got to go. Typically, you'll be the one to go check, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's easier for men to consider going off on their own.
110%. I'm not saying that's easier. That's exactly what I'm saying is, but the typical role is you've got to go outside and check that.
Yeah.
And
I think I naturally would. I think that's
naturally would, but that doesn't mean you ain't cacking your pants.
No, maybe not. It depends what the noise is.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's it. I mean, I've parked up in some pretty sketchy places before, and then I'm like, this ain't good, And I've moved, and I probably wouldn't. I don't really park in lay-bys, because obviously people know that you are in that vehicle, because you've stopped on the middle of a motorway or a dual carriageway, so you haven't walked off really, and that's very rare. So you are vulnerable on your own. And to be fair, I mean, I am the urban motorhome, and I do park a lot of urban, and I'm completely at home in the cities, in towns, and all that, and streets. But I do get a bit. I don't really park right out in the wild. I'm slowly learning that, because I was parking for work. That's why I was urban, and that's where I feel most comfortable. I'm around people. If something kicks off, some bit of screaming, bit of hollering, bit of bibbing, someone's going to hear it within a minute or two. Not saying they're going to help me, but they're going to hear it. They'll probably video it. You've got to get them views, haven't they? But you just feel a bit safer.
Yeah.
But I see people, I've got plenty of mates, and they go park out in the absolute arse end of nowhere, in the middle of nowhere in nature, which is beautiful. But I mean, the boogeyman could be out there.
The boogeyman. Now, you did say to me when you came to our house, we live in a pretty rural location.
Yeah.
And you said to me you felt more vulnerable in a location like that than you would in the city. I mean, our house is pretty safe. Some of our neighbours leave the keys in the ignitions of their car at night, and rarely are our front doors locked.
If you want his address, just send me some money, and I'll.
The cars are rubbish. You're all right.
Yeah, no, I honestly do feel a bit more vulnerable out there, and I mean, when I was out in France, I was doing a lot more rural and a bit more out in the country and that, and I was like, I had my cameras on a lot, because you're on your own, like, and I get the whole female thing, because, and I'm not stereotyping, I don't mean, but they are smaller than me. Most are smaller than me, and as a whole, men are stronger, not physically, not mentally or anything like that, but just in a fight, but some guy comes along, or a car of people come along, car of 4 lads come along, what am I going to do? So that is in your mind somewhere.
I can imagine there are lots of men listening to this, or maybe not listening to this, but are in a quandary about doing it, and it's still a brave move to take, is it not?
100%. I mean, my very first motorhome, I put CCTV on there straight away, because I wanted to see what was outside without showing myself inside the vehicle, because you're inside and you hear something out there, and it sounds like World War III is kicking off, but really it's a kid kicking a cannon down the street. But your mind, because you can't see it, and your mind's got that little thriller movie or scary movie that you've had in the back of your mind from years ago or something, you bring up the worst case scenarios, and then your body does start, and your brain does start thinking, well, yeah, what if someone is out there, and that will happen to everyone, male or female, it doesn't matter. So yeah, I mean, best way to start is, I'd probably say pub stops, if you want to get out there and start, and then just slowly work your way out, and then maybe supermarket car parks and things like that, because you're then further away from people, but you still got people.
And what would you say to someone, Dan, who is thinking, like you were, looking at buying a motorhome? The first lesson you learnt, it seems, is you needed a bigger budget, even for the first motorhome you had. It wasn't new, was it?
No.
But to someone who's in that position, who is considering doing it, and for some reason they're hesitating, and they might not be sure why, what would you say to them?
I would say just literally go for it. Save as much as you can. Get the finances together. study the layouts, study layouts completely, and be honest with your lifestyle. You know, a lot of people think they're going to, you know, jump into a van and they're going to go find some nice mountains and all this and that. They're going to start rock climbing and everything and abseiling. And seriously, I ain't doing that. You know, honestly, the amount of people that are probably listening to this and watching this, you ain't doing that. Yeah, you really ain't. You're going to sit on the sofa and watch Netflix and go, it's amazing out there. Take a few pictures and go, wow, I love this travel malarkey. I mean, let's be honest. That's brutally honest, right? Come on. So if you're going to, you know, do that, then you need a nice sofa. If you ain't got a nice sofa, you're just going to be annoyed, you know, because you've got all this rock climbing gear and you ain't using it. But yeah, layout is king. It really is with motorhomes and camper vans. And then, yeah, just do it, because at the end of the day, the market, on as long as you don't mess up your motorhome, the market to sell it again, to resell it, if it all fails and you don't like it and you know it's not for you, you can sell it. And there's banks out there that would love to get you in debt, and there's people out there that would love to rent their house to you, so you can always go back. You can always go back.
I want to talk to you about parking restrictions. So you are parking up in these urban locations. Yep. We seem to have an increasing number of places that motorhomes are not welcome. What's been your experience of this as someone who's trying to find somewhere to stop every day?
Yeah, I have found that a lot of places are getting height barriers, or they're just getting, you know, double yellow lines now, and things like that, and just signs no parking. I think it's because people take the mick. I mean, mine, you know, I've got a list of park-ups in my old area where I was working of about probably 30, 40 park-ups, and I'd go to one and then I wouldn't go back to that for a week or two, you know, because I don't want to burn it out. And I managed to park up in my local area where I was working for 5 years without a knock.
Never had a knock on the door?
Never had a knock on the door. I had one, actually, and I was in the bed and I couldn't clamber down quick enough. They walked off. I don't know who it was. I don't know what they wanted. Yeah.
You'll never know.
I'll never know. But yeah, so I successfully done that in urban areas, outside people's houses, in people's streets. You know, I park legal, I park polite. If there's rubbish, I'll clean it up, because I don't want them tarring me with that brush. And never had a knock. So I clearly didn't burn out the spots. I clearly was no nuisance to the neighbours, and they didn't notice me. You know, if you are like that, then these spots are just going to be left for us to use. But when people start, you know, getting their deck chairs out, you know, putting their little hats on, getting the sun cream on, and, you know, sitting there going, this is great, with the barbecue going, mate, that's not going to work.
Outside 23 Dorset Close.
Yeah, that's not going to... Yeah, I feel sorry for 23 Dorset Close.
I've no idea where that is.
No.
But so you have to be quite strategic then, do you, about parking up?
Yeah, I mean, I'll park. I like ends of houses where people, again, there's no windows, no one can see you. There's a bush. If there's big bushes, that again, it blocks you. It's just, I mean, when I park up in these places, you know, my blinds are down, curtains are drawn, and I used to have the steering lock, but now I've got the blinds at the front. So people will just think, oh, someone's visiting the neighbours, you know. And then if you're gone, you know, by lunchtime next day, they're already gone to work. So by the time they come back from work in 5 o'clock in the evening, you're gone. You're on to the next spot. You know, even if you're one street over, they don't see you. People are very in their routines, but if you get in the way of their routine, or if you're there for longer, you know, then they spot you, and then they take interest. And then it's like, if you're having, again, it's one of them things, if you're doing something that they can't, or you're having fun and they're not, they don't like that. No, people don't like that as a whole, do they? No. So then they start moaning, and then things happen, and then if enough people moan, then the council just come along, if they can either make money or they just want to stop that complaint in you know, nip it in the bud, they just put a sign up. Yeah. And that's it. They don't have to have them. If 50 complaints come in a month or a year, if they put a sign up, that stopped them 50 complaints, isn't it?
But a lot of the places I'm finding that have now got restrictions on them have not been abused. They've not had loads of people taking advantage of it. Have we got a culture where motorhomes just aren't welcome? What's the problem?
I mean, yeah, I think there is a culture where there's the you're tarred with a brush, aren't you? It's yeah, people just assume you're just going to be wrecking the place, and yet we're not really a friendly nation to motorhomes, camper vans, and them vehicles. I don't know why, because if they were, they could be I know it shouldn't all boil down to money, but there's a lot of money that local councils and local businesses could make.
Yeah.
I'm in the local towns in France. Every morning I'd go to the bakery. It's only a couple of euros, but it's a couple of euros in their pocket.
I'd never have guessed that that's what you did every morning.
I was getting a salad, mate.
A salad?
A salad.
From a bakery?
They do good salads, apparently, hopefully. No, they do good French sticks. Baguettes.
So now you've quit your job. So the YouTube channel you've got and the associated income that gives you,
yep.
From all the other stuff you're doing as well, has meant that you can quit full-time gainful employment, as your mum would probably call it.
Yeah. No, she thought I was lazy. I'm a lorry driver. She thought I was just, you're only sitting there and pushing the steering wheel. She's not.
So you're not driving the lorry anymore, so you can go anywhere. So where is your future? What is the future for Darran the Urban Motorhome? What have you got planned for next year and beyond?
Well, so this is the hardest part I'm finding now is actually managing a calendar, because I do a lot of shows, do a lot of talks, do a lot of festivals and all and that, so it is really trying to balance all that. So next year I want to go to Europe a bit. I want to go to Belgium and Germany. Mm-hmm. I'm then going to be on the Warner circuit. I'll be doing a lot of talks at Warner's next year, all their shows. There are a few little other bits, but then lot more festivals, and then later in the year I might go on a little holiday. I might go on a little holiday to Asia.
Not in the motorhome.
Not in the motorhome. No, I might just take a little trip, because it is traveling. Traveling full time constantly and doing the, you do these with the shop. Coming to show after show after show after show and doing talks does take it out of you.
Yeah.
Although I have given up work, I am busier than pretty much ever, to be fair. But I'm loving it. I am loving it, and I'm ever so grateful that I'm in the position that people watch my channel, watch my videos, and support it by watching it. And that gives me an income to thingy, which I'm slowly building. I don't want to be a millionaire. I just want to be able to pay my bills, a bit of extra for Pepsi and chicken wings, and then pay the guys that help me run the channel and that, and that's really it.
And what can we expect to see on the channel then next year, Darran?
There's going to be a lot more videos for travel. I've got a fishing channel coming up as well. That's starting, and a food channel coming next year as well.
Right.
So going to have lots of stuff. Going to try and do lots of stuff in different areas, do lots of food stuff, and travel, and just do some wacky stuff.
Wacky stuff. Now, we've talked together about your book,
Yes.
the one that's in your head. What's the book about?
The book is about park-ups, because I don't want to say I'm a guru, because I don't like that term, but I'm pretty confident I've mastered park-ups. I mean, I've never had a knock, so almost 7 years in, and I've never had a knock and never really annoyed anyone, and it works. So I kind of know what I'm talking about.
Is that what we're going to call it? How not to get the knock?
Yeah, it's along them lines. Yeah, how not to get the knock. Yeah, mastering parking your motorhome while wild camping. Because a lot of people want to do it, but they're scared. They don't know how to do the first step and all this and that. And there's a few things to take into account. I've done a lot of videos on the channel where I literally put the camera in front of the windscreen and one at me, and I just drive around going, I would park there, I would park there, I wouldn't park there. And
I've seen
that.
it. It's good. And I think that's going to be a really interesting book, because for someone who's considering doing this, male, female, couple, doesn't matter, with the family, I think if you're choosing not to stay on campsites, because some, let's face it, are becoming very expensive, this could be a real way of travelling, couldn't it?
100%, yeah. And if you do it right, then there's no reason for, one, you to be scared, two, you could get the knock, and three, for the park ups to be burnt out.
Yeah.
So it helps everyone. You can then put a bit more money into the local. You can go to the local butcher, buy whatever you buy in there, because you're in that local town, which is great. And then every now and again you go to a campsite, so everyone wins.
Like you, buy a salad.
Yeah, buy a salad.
Now, one more question. I have to ask this.
Yep.
Is there a Mrs. Urban Motorhome?
I get this question quite a lot. Is there a Mrs. Motorhome? Well, I can't even say it. No, there isn't.
Is there going to be?
Drop your comments, drop your numbers below.
Mate, it's great to see you, always. Really good to see you. Your laugh is infectious. You have a huge amount of energy, and you're such a great ambassador for this pastime we love.
Yeah.
And I take my hat off to you, mate, as you've really nailed it. And I wish you a brilliant hibernation this winter, and look forward to seeing you at all the Warner shows next year. Thanks again, mate.
Cheers, mate. Can't wait.
That's Darran at the Urban Motorhome. Got a lot to say for himself there, Matt.
He's lovely. We love Darran. He's a good friend of the podcast, and an inspiration as well, particularly for men looking to travel on their own and get away in a motorhome and just do it.
Well, you hear a lot about women travelling on their own, but is van lifing, is motorhoming on your own a big thing?
I think it's increasingly become a big thing because it's become more and more accessible, and it's the freedom it gives people to travel. If you're in a relationship with someone, they don't always want to go to the same place as you, do they? So, you just leave them at home, go off on your own. Why not? We've got an episode coming up soon with the lovely Siobhan Daniels, where we talk about her experience of many years now living in a motorhome and travelling on her own. And I want to ask her about some of the challenges she faced, and was there any concerns that she had about doing it? Because people do have them. People do worry about it.
Yeah, the first thing that you think of is with women travelling on their own. We shouldn't think this way, but we do. Is there a risk to them? But men, as well, there's a risk to them. They can be greeted suspiciously by others, can't they?
I guess so, yeah. I mean, unfairly and unjustly so, probably. But Darran would say, if you're thinking of doing it, just go for it, just do it, and keep a low profile, as you probably would at home in a bricks and mortar. And he has got some real good hints and tips on how to find a park up that isn't going to get you the knock, as he calls it. And that's the one.
Hello.
Anybody in? Take the mask off. I know, not that kind of knock. But for women travelling on their own, I think there's a perceived higher level of risk. And it certainly has been a big topic at the shows. And there are an increasing number of people who are on YouTube or on Instagram who are single, solo female travellers. And they all love it. And I'm not aware that any of them have really had a massive issue with this. So,
and it takes us back, doesn't it, to the news item we're talking about there, about the parking overnight in Bristol and Wyre Borough Council, and the way they've made their central car park open to motorhomers throughout the night. So, if you're travelling on your own, there are safer, there are a range of things you can do, aren't there?
Yeah, of course, and parking in a group would be one of them. Hence these kind of settlements, can we call them that, have appeared and bubbled up, where people are grouping together, and it's formed a sense of community. As human beings, we love to bond and form communities, and that's what's happened. And the risk is this is being pushed away.
It's the Motorhome Matt podcast with me, Keith Gooden.
And me, Motorhome Matt.
Brought to you by thatleisureshop.com. Let us get into the Q&A. But first, before we do, a little bit of a new thing here. Some of our reviews that you've been leaving us, and thank you very much for that. Here's a review from @BJT81. We've not purchased a motorhome yet, but this podcast has provided us with all the insight and confidence we need to start the adventure with our young family. Yeah. Matt and Keith, but mostly Keith, are heroes, removing the fears of the open road and replacing with a real sense of excitement.
That's only because you got your pants on the outside of your trousers.
Thanks very much to the team for a great podcast.
Oh, bless them. Yeah. That's brilliant.
Thanks very much for that. You can send your review to mhmp.info/review. That's MHMP, Motorhome Map Podcast.info/review. There you go.
See, not all heroes wear capes.
Hey, it's a big hello to Colin Coulthard. Get it? He lives in Harrow. Do you get it?
Morning, Matt. It's Colin from Harrow again. Question for your EV event. Will there be realistic options to convert diesel-powered motorhomes to electric, i.e. in-wheel motors? Where would you store the batteries safely? Be interested in the answer. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye.
Thanks for your question, Colin. Great to hear from you as always. Harrow. Was that
Harrow?
the joke?
He's from Harrow.
I get it now. So yeah, Colin, we did include that in our session at the Southwest Motorhome Campervan Show. John Gooch and I were on stage talking about this very topic, as the future of electric motorhomes. And John reckons there are options out there already to change the drivetrain. I mean, there are lots of companies out there converting classic cars from petrol or diesel to electric powered drive, either a power plant at the front or in-wheel motors. So they do exist, and the question that I raise is, how would you insure it? And we went to Caravan Guard with the question, and they said we would want to see professional qualification of those that have done it, evidence of how it had been done, and they would do it on a case-by-case review. They had not insured anything that had been converted yet from diesel to electric. So I think the technology is out there. It's probably quite expensive, I'm not sure, but there are people pioneering this, and particularly classic cars, just to keep them alive, and they're doing them for a bit of fun, really, and there's some great YouTube content on this. So the answer, Colin, is yes, there is already, and I think there will be more and more of them.
Jonathan Passmore's in Lancaster. He says EVs are heavy, typically 300 to 400 kilograms heavier than equivalent cars, and it is already challenging to stay below 3,500 kilograms. Will nearly everyone need a C1 licence?
Well, it's interesting. The Bailey Endeavour EV that we were driving just a few weeks ago is 752 kilograms heavier than the diesel Transit, just because of the battery. So it's a bigger impact than you state, Jonathan. So it's interesting to note that electric vans can be 4,250 kilograms as a gross weight, so up-plated from the 3.5 ton, giving you the capability of carrying those batteries and retaining a payload. So will everyone need C1? Well, if the rules don't change and motorhomes are allowed to be 4,250, then perhaps, yeah. But of course the C1 is under review at government still no news on that, I'm afraid. So possibly, yes, but that's unrealistic, isn't it? So I think that motorhomes are likely to end up, being part of that 4,250 ruling. And of course, battery technology is going to improve and get lighter, and we're going to be able to go further. So I would say it's still too early to make decisions about what licensing we need. Stay put and watch what's happening.
Thanks for the question there, Jonathan. Chris Morrison, hi Matt, Chris says, spoke to you the other day at Warner's show about having a British dog versus a European dog while travelling through Europe. Do you need more than one certificate to cross borders? You mean border cross? Does it make a difference if the dog is British or European? Say if you bought a dog while travelling.
Very good. Chris, it was lovely to meet you and your partner. We were at the Lincoln show and Chris came and said hello. I did actually forward your question, Chris, to the TV vet, Dr. James Greenwood, and James very kindly came back and said the animal health certificate covers 4 months onward travel within the EU. On the specifics, it can be hard to give advice as it depends on which countries and whether they are within the EU, and also depends on the age of the dog. My advice for specific queries where it's hard to give exact advice without details of the trip or circumstances would be to always contact the government pet travel helpline to avoid any mistakes. And then James kindly shares who they are and where you can get in touch with them. It's the Pet Travel Scheme helpline. They are on pettravel@apha.gov.uk. And there's a telephone number for them as well. It's 0370 241 1710. James, thank you so much for that. It's really helpful. And hopefully, Chris, you can find the answer you need from those guys.
I'll just repeat those details. Pet Travel Scheme helpline. It's Pet Travel, that's PETTRAVEL, one word, at apha.gov.uk. Telephone number is 0370 241 1710. There you go. Chris, thanks for the question, and thanks as well to that TV vet, Dr. James Greenwood, as well, for taking the time to respond to that one then, Matt.
Thanks, James.
How do people get in touch and ask you a question?
Really easily. You can go to mhmp.info/ask Matt. And we would love to know if you're travelling on your own further to the content of this episode. Would you let us know at mhmp.info/ask Matt, because we want to build up some comment for a future episode.
And if they want to share?
You can do that if you have a friend that you think might find this episode helpful, or any of the episodes we've done helpful or useful or even just entertaining, then please would you share it with them, send them the link. It would help spread the popularity of the podcast, which is something we're really keen to try and do.
And you can subscribe and like as well, can't you?
You can. If you're on YouTube or any of the podcast platforms, please make sure you hit subscribe and follow, and then you'll be alerted to when we release new content.